the Wildcard Podcast. Let's get started.
Welcome to episode 11 of the Wildcard Podcast, alongside Kurt Arnold, Jason Kuzma, and Preston Grace. My name is James Mackey. We thank you so much for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and more. Today, we're talking the NBA Finals. We're talking about the Suns' head coaching search. MLB players that have honestly exceeded expectations or not met expectations. That's one that we could talk about as well. And maybe a little bit of the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, the NBA Finals have been decided after the Heat almost blew a 3-0 series lead against the Celtics for the second year in a row. That would have been catastrophic, horrible.
Jaylen Brown came to the rescue with 8 turnovers.
It would have been very bad for them. Nothing would have just wouldn't have been good. So the Heat made it into the finals. They now have to take on the Nuggets in a series that starts tonight, June 1st, and is scheduled to go through June 18th if Miami somehow makes it 7 games. But I think the elevation difference is going to be too much for them to handle, and honestly, it may be over in 6 in favor of the Nuggets. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the playoffs? Who do you think has shown up well for their team?
I think the Heat are going to take game 1 because the Nuggets have had, a week and a half, 2 weeks of rest. So the Heat, don't be surprised if they take
I don't know.
They've been playing basketball. All their hot shooters are going to continue to be hot. While the Nuggets, KCP, he probably won't be as hot as he was versus the Lakers. Jamal Murray probably won't. So the Heat, I think I would, if I was a betting man, I would put money on the Heat.
I don't know why everyone's so big on the rest thing. I almost feel like that would be – I mean, I know that, whoever's on a streak is important, but I think that the rest is almost good, especially – I mean, I know Jokic is just going to be on no matter what. So, he probably went back to Serbia or whatever and was just, riding on a horse and buggy like he does over there for, a week. But, no, I think they'll be good. And game 1's in Denver, right? So –
Yeah,
I don't know, and it depends if how the Heat handles it. Like James said, the elevation change, because it's screwed every other team they've played. Honestly, like I don't know, and also the Nuggets are too deep in their roster, and after seeing what they did to the Suns, I don't know who's beating them. I don't know about the Heat,
though. I think for some reason, I just think 10 days off of extreme playoff basketball is different than we all know it's different than 10 days off in the regular season. I just think it's so competitive that Jimmy and the Heat and all of their shooters that are now hitting everything, like Caleb Martin, who in my eyes should have won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. That's not here.
Yeah.
They got Gabe Vincent and practically Jamal Murray 2.0. when you look at it, and Strus is becoming alive. I just think with those 9 days off from playoff basketball and you're going into the finals, it's good to have a little break, but I just feel like it's going to be too much. I think the Heat really have something rolling. They really feel like that they can take out this team even though nobody else has. Jimmy seems super locked in on that finals trophy. So if I were to say, I don't know if I want to say the Heat are going to win, but I think for sure the Heat will cover tonight, at least 9.
Yeah. I think it's going to be up to if Bam Adebayo, because he's just not big enough for Jokic. I don't think anybody – there's only like 2 or 3 centers I can think off the top of my head that can actually guard Jokic. And
I don't think anybody can. I think it's about containing the other players on the Nuggets.
But Bam isn't one of those 2 or 3 players that I'm thinking of. So I would not be surprised if they use Udonis Haslem off the bench just for fouls, just to soak fouls. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's also big.
He's got some gray in his beard.
They got more finals experience. Like nobody on the Nuggets has been to a finals except Uncle Jeff Green. But you got Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry on the bench for the Heat. Those are 2 finals winners, and they were very important when they won those finals for their respective teams. So I think having that off the bench, Jimmy and it's practically the same team from the bubble year for this Heat team, just a couple new undrafted players. I think they've kept the chemistry well, and I think Spoelstra will have to coach his ass off.
And they're also missing their 20-point-per-game scorer, Tyler Hero.
This is all without Hero. Imagine if he was – is there any chance he could get in at like game 5 or 6.
I feel like at this
He
point,
was clear to return to basketball activity. I believe it was prior to Game 7. I'm not 100% sure what that means in terms of him actually playing. But, yes, he was cleared to return to basketball activity. He was seen dribbling a ball with his right hand.
there's no way he plays.
Just imagine. I'm trying to think what Game 7 would be like the 18th. So it'd be another
Yep.
2.5 weeks. I mean, who knows? He might. But it's a long shot. They're going to have to get it done with the guys they've been doing it with. Vincent, Strus, and
I don't know. I don't see. I mean, did that go 6 or 7 last series for the Heat? It went 6, right?
7.
7.
And
7.
per
Yeah. I don't.
per Chris
You can't-
Haynes at
the
TNT, Tyler Hero is expected. He's ramping up workouts and is expected to make his return at some point during the finals, with Game 3 being the likely target.
Mm.
That you don't bring someone back for an NBA Finals game. Like that makes no sense.
I think that depends on their record.
Yeah, if they win Game 1 and they go up and get another game in between 2 and 4, if it's somehow like 2-2 at Game 4, I definitely think we'll see a Tyler Hero in a 6 or a
I
7.
personally think Game 1 is the only game that the Heat are going to win. I got Nuggets in 5.
Real man.
I got Nuggets in 5. Yeah, I think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I don't know when that game's going to happen. There's no way. There's just two different teams. You know, you have the Heat who barely scratched their way out of the Eastern Conference Finals against a very mediocre Boston team, and you have the Nuggets who really didn't have much of a challenge in any of their series. To be honest, I mean they swept the GOAT. They swept the GOAT. But in the Sun series was interesting, but I just don't see it. And yeah, the only chance is, like you guys are saying, the time off. But
The only reason they lost to the Suns was because Booker missed like 6 shots in 2 games. That was the only.
And it's good. I think Jamal is going to be on a tear, because I mean, obviously he doesn't look at I just think it's interesting how much disrespect he's getting, because in I saw the NBA 2K ratings. They gave Bam. They gave him an 87, but they gave Jamal an 84 somehow, which makes no sense with how they've been playing.
It's tough to rate a dude that hasn't played in a season, so that's why.
At least with how he's been playing recently, you can rate him, and he's been a crucial second man to Jokic.
I'd give him a 98 the way he's been playing.
Yeah, well, Jokic got like a 97. I think Jimmy Butler got a 93, which is crazy, but I don't know. It's interesting. I just don't see the Nuggets really taking much shit from the Heat, but we'll see. We'll see.
It's going to be a good series no matter what, though. I'm excited. I think, in my eyes, I think it goes to at least 6. And I know the Nuggets are most likely going to roll the Heat just because they've rolled literally every single team they've gone against, including Kevin Durant and Booker, LeBron.
Much better than the Heat, in my opinion, I think.
And on paper, they're just significantly better with all their players and their depth. But I just think, I don't know, there's something where it's this young team that comes in that's never, that really succeeds and over succeeds in the playoffs, like the Celtics last year. And they come into a team with finals experience. I'm not comparing this Heat team to any Warriors team that Clay and Curry and all them are on, but I don't know. I have a feeling this might go to 7.
Wow.
Well, in the way I see it is, if you look at it's a repeat of the 2020 finals, and if you look at how that went, there was nothing else Jimmy Butler could have done to beat LeBron and AD in 2020. And I don't know if the Heat team is either better or worse than 2020, but if they couldn't beat,
way better with Caleb and Kevin, and I get it. Bam is very undersized for the center, and to go against the best center for 3 straight years, probably the best player in the straight years.
Crazy.
Say that because Embiid got his MVP and I was biased, but I mean, Jokic did it. So I think if there is one center, I feel like Bam has been the only other center in these playoffs that's actually that hasn't cared about his matchup. He's been undersized every series against Rob, against Brook Lopez and Giannis, against Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein. But I mean, they still squeak it out, and he still gets his double-digit boards. I think if he and the way I see Jokic half the games he'll have 3 boards and half the games he'll have 14. If he can somehow just like lock Jokic out, which he can do, he's had done before. I don't know. I think this will be really competitive, and I think the Nuggets are very dominant, but I think finals experience will come into play with Kevin and Kyril, and Jimmy and Bam and all them being in it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think you have a point. And throughout the entire Nuggets playoff series, no one has been able to stop Jamal Murray and Jokic on the pick and roll. Absolutely nobody. Anthony Davis couldn't do it. Who else they play? Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert couldn't do it. I think, but the one player who has a chance to stop it is Bam Adebayo. So I'm not saying he will, but he has a good chance.
Exactly. I'm not saying he will. I just, out of all centers that I want to guard Jokic, it's Bam. Bam's been the only one that's been giving it his all, except his one fluke game in Game 4 or 6 against the Celtics.
What makes Bam so good is he can switch on the pick and roll. He can get out there and guard Jamal Murray. DeAndre Ayton couldn't do that. Rudy Gobert couldn't do that.
It'll be interesting.
Man, I wonder what Embiid and Jokic would have looked like. That would have been fun to watch.
Embiid and Jokic running into each other, both flopping for 50 throws.
Yeah.
It would have been fun.
We keep kind of lapsing back to the Suns and Nuggets series, but what I want to know, kind of moving in a little bit more in depth on the Suns, is obviously we all know Monty Williams got fired. He's been rehired in Detroit on a deal that
the bag.
None of you or even me really seemed to think was good for him, or overpaying him in that case. With Nick Nurse reportedly joining the Philadelphia 76ers, the Suns head coaching search is now narrowed down to Doc Rivers, Frank Vogel, and Kevin Young.
Nick Nurse is too nice for Philly.
Of those 3, who do you think is the best fit for the Suns, and who do you think could lead them to the promised land and winning 1, 2, maybe 3 NBA Finals?
Off the board.
Get Vogel out of there too.
No Doc Rivers, and I'm a little suspect of Frank. I think he was the Lakers coach that one year where they won. I think he could bring a little asset to the team, but I think out of we didn't get Ty Lue, who I was super high on. We didn't get Nick Nurse. I think we got to keep it in the system. I was super upset that got him.
What's wrong with Mike Budenholzer?
And I like Budo because he
made the same mistakes as Monty, to be honest.
Out of
a lot
all
of the times,
big name coaches, I feel like it's only Budenholzer. I don't think Vogel would fit the system, and I don't know why people are so high on Doc. I just think his time as a championship level winning coach is way past. I mean, he's had great teams with Philly, just can't get it done. He can't figure out the players. You look at Embiid in the playoffs. I mean, it was practically another DA. I mean, it's not DA because it's the MVP, but like he gets to his fouls, he complains, he falls. It was just a upset show for the 8th straight year for the Sixers. I think we keep it in the system, keep it with Kevin, or maybe Budo. But
how many times has Doc Rivers failed to get out of the second round?
God, I think 11 seasons.
It's ridiculous. He's clearly not a winning coach. I don't see what teams see in him.
It was just
experience is, I guess, the only thing. But even then, it's not. Yeah.
He won with Boston, and he's tried to keep that same kind of coaching style with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Rondo with that team. I mean, it is such a new game that he doesn't really adjust like he does, and he makes those bad late game adjustments more than Monty. Like I couldn't watch the end of a Sixers game this year because they'd be up 15 and they would only win by 2 or they'd lose. Like their fourth quarter coaching was awful.
A lot of the Suns there too, yeah.
Doc, he seems to get outcoached a lot.
I would be very surprised if it's not Young, and I would be honestly pissed if it's not, because there's no excuse if we pick Vogel, because
and Frank Vogel. Let me tell you about Frank.
He wasn't even a coach; it was LeBron. Like we all know, LeBron coached that team.
He is just as bad, if not worse, than what Monty Williams is doing with in terms of rotations, dude. Oh my gosh, the rotations he would do.
It was LeBron.
He would run 5 like guys that are 6'7" out there against the Nuggets. It's like the worst rotations I've ever seen. He's just a big defense guy. That's all he is. He doesn't do shit on offense. He's just a defense guy.
I'm really thinking Kevin Young is probably the move for the Suns. Keep the chemistry, keep it building, get some trade pieces, maybe with DA. I know they were talking about, I keep seeing a bunch of mock trades, a bunch to the Mavericks, a bunch to some other lower end teams, but we get hauls. It's going to be interesting. I think Ishbia and James Jones, I'm glad they're not, this is the one decision they haven't rushed at least. Because Ishbia has been quick trigger on pulling for a lot of things, trades, release money. So I'm glad they're taking it seriously. But I think too many of the good candidates for us are out. That it's most likely going to be Kevin Young. I think that's the best option.
And with Monty Williams in Detroit, I feel like, James said he might be overpaid. You can't overpay a coach because that salary, it's not on the salary cap. Like, it's just there. But
just them paying you.
Yeah, it is 6 years. It's really not. I mean, it's not a horrible overpay. It's just a lot of money.
The fact that the coach is making the most money, he's making more than the players.
Yeah,
I might say a little bit something about that Detroit franchise, but
I mean, it makes sense. He is worth more to that team now than most of their roster, to be honest. I mean,
well, here's the real question: does he really make a significant enough impact to turn it around for them? Do you think that Monty is the guy in the next 6 years?
I don't know about
no.
To take them from zero to not necessarily an NBA Finals.
It's what they need. It's what they need. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about
players, though. A coach can only do so much with the players they have, and the players they have are garbage. To put it frankly, they are garbage.
I think it's
Didn't they get robbed in the lottery this year?
They got the 5th pick. Like that's
crazy.
It's just a like I said before, a dumpster fire.
I think it'll be good for Detroit for the first 2 years, like it was good for the Suns, where he'll build up the camaraderie between players. You got Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, two top. You got the number 1 pick a couple years ago and the number 4 pick. You get the 5 pick this year. You got a bunch of young dudes that were all lottery picks, like Marvin Bagley is now on the team. Bogdanovich, he had a great.
Fix James Wiseman, Jason.
And James, oh man, if he can stay healthy, that's been the biggest question mark in basketball for a while. I mean, he's got a bunch of young players that if he can somehow, build up that chemistry really well, in a couple of years, who knows? Maybe Detroit will be back in the playoffs. And
Weissman's in Detroit?
But
I know that.
It's going to be a tough couple of years.
The main goal for the Pistons next year should be developing Cade Cunningham, because he had that surgery which put him out the rest of the season. I can't say that Cade Cunningham is worth that number 1 overall draft pick right now.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a reach.
He has things to prove, and so does Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey was great, but he needs to show me that he can work next to a guy.
Next to each other. Because they're both so ball dominant, and they both want to be that new face of Detroit. And with Cade getting hurt, we saw some good flashes of Jaden this year, putting up 25.
And Cillian Hayes, dude.
Oh man, he's awful. He is absolute dog trash.
He cannot be a start. He can't be a starter on even a bad team.
And another waste of a lottery pick. They just have so many of these lottery pick question marks on their team that they, probably thought would be the future, and it very well could be, and Monty could very well help them, but I just don't think he can bring that team to the finals in those 6 years.
I don't even think he'll bring them to the playoffs.
It might get 1 or 2 appearances, but it's going to have to be playing. I think they're still so far back, and they have so many competitive teams in the East right now. And the way each year with free agents and trades and re-signings, it's like the league just shakes up and like mixes around every August, and it doesn't even look like the same teams for the past 2 years. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think I'm happy for Monty. Happy he got his money. Absolutely good for him. I'll miss him, but I mean, I think it's time. It's time. We're seeing all these teams. They're serious about winning now. A lot of these NBA teams are all about winning now, winning soon, getting that quick money. So I don't know.
Jason, on a personal and obviously a little biased level, how do you feel about Nick Nurse being the new Sixers head coach? What do you think about that?
I was indifferent because I was here at my house and I got that text.
It was made official this morning, by the way.
And I got the alert that they were most likely going to get him, and I just thought, damn, like that's who I wanted the Suns to get over, like mostly because I'm always going to go for my Suns first, so I wanted them to get him, and I was a little heartbroken, but I think it'll be perfect for the Sixers because it was the one team that beat them in their chance to the finals with Kawhi. Nick Nurse he's been very big. Even like on games against the Raptors where he'll bitch at Embiid for bitching for fouls. Like he'll call him out. He'll tell him, just play your role, dude. You're too good. He's been open about it, that he likes Embiid. I think if they get Harden out, which I think they are, I think with Tyrese, and it sucks, I think Tobias will get a bigger role. They'll probably go guard in the drafts, but they got some guys. I think Nick Nurse he's got a better chance of getting them to the finals than Doc does. Way better chance. He can control a team. He can keep heads leveled. I think what he did for Frederick VanVleet that year will be great for Tyrese. Mm-hmm. And we can see a whole new Tyrese Maxey, which I love. I think he's an awesome player. But it sucks. I wanted him to go to the Suns, but I think he fits that Philly scheme really well. The city seems to rally behind him already, and he was always so he's passionate, and I think that's something that Philly really cares about with their players, and as much as their coaches, they want their coaches to be very passionate for the game and for the city, and I just don't think Doc did that enough. And I think it's a new process in Philly. Trust the process. Been hearing that for a decade.
Preston, you asked earlier this week in our group if we could talk a little bit about MLB players who have exceeded or not met expectations. Is there anyone in particular you have in mind that you would like to talk about? If not, do you have a group of players? What's your little rundown on that?
Someone who has kind of been a letdown for a lot of people, Jason, you can vouch, is Trey Turner. All that money they paid just for him to, 260. It's all right, but it's not what they expected. He batted about 340 last season with homers, with stolen bases. He's just not doing. He's making errors in the field now.
It's a whole 236 now, might I add. It got worse.
It's 236.
Yeah.
That's not worth however much money they paid him. I know it was a lot. I don't know.
5 homers and 15 RBIs.
They gave him the bag, and I remember he went on an interview with the sports radio there or something. And he was even on himself. He knew. He goes, "This isn't me." He knows he was in a slump, and I think a lot of it is definitely getting on that move, going from the Dodgers to Phillies. You go a whole different division, you're across the country. And I think a lot of it is because he was a Nationals player, so he's so close to home. And I'm sure a bunch of old friends, I'm sure he's probably enjoying himself while he's there.
He's got a lot more pressure in his hometown.
A lot more pressure on him because, when the Phillies made that signing, it was like, oh, he's going to take them. He's going to be the one reason they can beat the Astros. He can take them over that hump and win the World Series. And we're just seeing a very lackluster start for the whole team. And I think, and they're all really kind of riding around each other. Harper did really good when he first came back. He's starting to mellow out. He still got his torn UCL. I think this team needs a couple months. I don't think they'll be ready or playing their best baseball until probably early August. But I don't know. Trey's definitely disappointed.
Is early August too late in the year?
That's what I'm saying.
It's
going to be interesting though, because last year they weren't over 500 until September, and they made that last end season push, and they got that last NL wildcard spot, and then just ran through. So it's going to be interesting. They really got to pick it up soon because the Braves are killing it and the Mets are killing it, and I don't want to be worrying about getting a wild card spot because I know this team is really good. I think the pitching really needs to step up, but yeah, no, it's just been a disappointing. I say you could say the whole Phillies team. It's been disappointing.
Yeah, definitely.
Preston, throughout spring training, I kind of talked a little bit about my belief in Lourdes Gurriel, and even this morning on the radio, they said that it felt like Lourdes Gurriel was kind of just a throw-in piece for the Dalton Varsho trade, but it would appear to this point that the Diamondbacks may have actually won that trade. In your eyes, other than Lourdes or even including Lourdes, who has been a standout player to you, whether the Diamondbacks or anyone else in the league?
Absolutely 150% Geraldo Perdomo. He's taken Nick Ahmed's job now, which Nick Ahmed has had that shortstop job for the last
7 years.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And Perdomo has shown he can hit consistently from both sides of the plate, so you can play him against whoever. And I love Nick Ahmed. I have one of his jerseys in my closet right now. But I think it's time for him to go. It's Perdomo's time. And I would even say Perdomo should be an all-star this year. He's got the stats for it. Yeah, he's got the stats for it. If not that, then Corbin Carroll.
Corbin's been hitting some bombs now too.
Mm-hmm.
He steals, every bag. He goes from second. The past 2 games against the Rockies catchers, you can see them visibly get frustrated because they know he's going to steal second. They bobble the ball, they can't get him out, and then he just steals third. It's almost like a cheat code. And then we get Jake McCarthy at the bottom of the does the same thing, and he's starting to get his bats going. But no, Perdomo, dude's hitting 300. He's been hitting 300 almost all year. He's really killing it with his hitting, and I think his fielding's gotten a lot better compared to last year.
Definitely.
I'm just worried they give it to Bogarts over just popularity because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, and that's what the All-Star game is in a nutshell. It's just a popularity contest when it comes down to it. But I will say if Lourdes Gurriel doesn't get the All-Star, I think he's been a top 5 player in the MLB this season.
His 311 batting average to this point is his highest in his entire career.
He had a I think 17, 18 game hitting streak just snapped recently, but he's still hitting homers. He's still getting extra base hits, and he's just hitting
too.
And you said, James, he was definitely just a throw-in piece for the Varsho trade, which I'm not going to say we won or lost that because Dalton Varsho, he was a second half player last season.
We won that trade, bro. Come on.
If we're going off of now, we definitely won that trade because Gabriel Moreno is also
he's going crazy too. He could be he's one of the best catchers.
All these trade pieces. Dude, Lourdes is he's become one of my favorite player on that team.
Purple hair.
The purple hair, he's
got power, they call him.
The energy he brings to the team, you can see they rally around him. And then when he got his citizenship, the whole team was happy for him. They made a big deal about that, which is huge. You like seeing this chemistry between the D-backs team that we haven't seen in a while.
And I think it also has a lot to do with us getting rid of Madison Bumgarner.
That does help.
He's definitely a cancer to the team. You could just see it. And the energy has been so much better with our young rotation guys. When they do good, just gets the whole team amped up.
Lights out. Dude had his best game yet as a D-back. Shut him out. Did he finish 8?
He got 7
last night or 2 nights ago for Zach Gallen.
No, for Henry.
Last night, 7 innings scoreless.
Gave up 2 hits, dude.
Yeah, he was locating. If we get him going, Fott's still up in the air, but he's really, really new. He's still adjusting to the game. We got Gallen, we got Merrill when he locks in, and now Davies is back, and he had a pretty good start for being gone since we haven't seen him since almost the beginning of the year. This team's hot.
The thing with the D-backs, I think what's holding them back from being like a really, really good team is obviously the bullpen, and that's been the problem for 10 years now, it seems like. We have one or two decent guys out of the bullpen, and Chafin and Miguel Castro. Everyone else stinks.
We could use another
use him every
starter.
day.
We could use
Jose
probably one good
Ruiz,
pitcher too.
Jose Ruiz is trash. Scott McGuff, we got him from Korea. He's just not good. Kevin Ginkel's been trash for the last 4 seasons. I don't know how he's still on an MLB roster. But
Don't even get me started with Melanson, bro.
Mark Melanson, I'm not looking forward to the day he comes back because he can just keep throwing cutters right down the middle to everyone. It's tough to watch.
Right down the middle.
Preston, how do you see Carson Kelly slotting back into the Diamondbacks lineup when he's healthy?
I don't see him sliding back. I think he's gonna have to prove a lot in AAA on this rehab assignment because Moreno's just so much better than him, and I don't know if Carson Kelly's better than Jose Herrera right now. I'm worried about Carson Kelly. I love him,
And let's be real, he's not that he's honestly not good. He's not that crazy, he's been our guy last few years, but last year he hit 211. That's pretty shitty. I mean, that's baseline for a catcher in the MLB, but still,
And we have there's a thing called the battery in baseball, which if you take out Jose Herrera, he's been in there since opening day. If you take him out, it'll mess up the battery.
Isn't that who Gallen likes?
That's
right.
Yeah, that's who I think 2 or 3 of our pitchers like going to. So if you take him out and put Carson Kelly, a guy who hasn't been there all season, I think it'll kind of mess up the battery.
I think they kept him because he was super close with Gallen. He was Gallen's catcher. He was his roommate. So they would give him more leeway. I feel like in those Gallen games that he would start to be like, all right, we can put Carson out there. We're gonna, we have enough out there already. And I just like Kurt said. I mean, he's been a lackluster hitter the past couple of years. Not really hitting high. And I feel like
he has those weeks. He'll have like a 2-week span. He'll hit like 6 homers, and we'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's one of the best catchers in baseball." And then
have his stints, but I think, like Preston said, Moreno's just that much better, and it just shows you. I mean, that trade, I think, instantly the D-backs won. And I think even Herrera too, like you said, a lot more pitchers are getting super comfortable with him. I think it's gonna lock those 2 down. Carson's gonna have to exceed expectations.
Herrera is catching Zach Davies today, by the way, so if that helps at all, which I don't know. If it does.
I mean, he's out tonight.
Barshow's hitting 213 right now, so he's gonna have to really turn it up.
He's not
they
getting
win that.
I know he has less than
22.
22.
Yeah,
in a lineup like
just,
Toronto's, it's very easy for him to be overshadowed, and I think that.
Oh, for sure, that's a great lineup, but
that kind of wasn't expected for Varsho. However, that trade when it happened was something that I was kind of dumbfounded about because I did like Varsho as an outfield. I thought they had the best outfield in the league with Thomas, McCarthy, and Carroll. But I think we're seeing now that Lourdes is someone that the Diamondbacks are able to rely on in the outfield. We've talked a lot about Zach Gallen. He's put up 7 wins on the year, but so has Mitch Keller in Pittsburgh. Obviously a career best. Pittsburgh's been something not short of spectacular. They've been very good. So
because they got McCutchen back.
They're slightly, coming off the hype train a little bit though. They are now only a game over 500. Just saying, right. I brought that up earlier. I did think that wasn't going to continue, and who knows? Maybe I'm not guaranteeing the D-backs to continue their success either. But I don't see the Pirates continuing that success throughout the break even. But I don't know. I'm happy for him.
Is there any
baseball's town
right now under 500 or even not performing to the fullest extent of their potential that you can see becoming one? This is kind of an open floor question. You could see becoming one of those teams. Obviously, the Phillies are someone Jason's probably going to bring up, but anyone who's under their ceiling of high expectation that you think turns it up within the next couple of weeks and maybe becomes a buyer at the deadline to make a playoff push.
I would say Cleveland is one of them. They're 5 games.
Unfortunately, I think so too.
They're 5 games under 5 games under 500. I think Seattle. They're also. I think they're above, but I don't think they're. I think they're
too above,
right at 500. But
I didn't know the Rangers were this good. 35-20.
Yeah.
God damn.
I'll tell you what, the Tigers have had a flip of the script just like from the start of the season to now. They're only 2 games below 500, and they were almost tied with the A's.
Isn't Torkelson doing pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, their young guys are all starting to come back. It was ever since that Javier Baez like mishap where he ran around and didn't tag up and got in there and got taken out. Ever since that, apparently they've just gotten so much better. The Angels are over 500. It'll be interesting to see what they do because they got a lot of questions to answer this offseason.
Ohtani.
That's the big one. Where does Ohtani end up? If you bring him back, does he stay long enough to see you win?
It'll be interesting to see what the Cardinals do now that they're only 4 games out of second spot in the Central, and they had a horrible start. And I think we'll probably see the Padres do something as well because they do every year.
Yeah, Machado, man, he is bad now.
It's too many names all trying to compete. I think you got Tatis trying to be like, oh, I'm the face, and then you got Machado, who was the face last year, and then they got Juan Soto, who's trying to be the new face as well, I think. And they're all just kind of shit in the bed. I love it. I hate Machado.
I just hate the Padres.
I brought up, obviously Gary Sanchez is second home run in 2 games. I think if we're looking at it, we've already talked once about the Padres, but I definitely think it's worth noting that I think they have the best power lineup in the league right now with, Gary when he's hitting the ball well and Xander, and we've seen Cronenworth do it.
I don't know, dude. There's a lot of I take a lot of other catchers than Gary Sanchez, to be honest. In terms of, you can go ahead, Jason.
No, I was just saying.
Oh, yeah.
I won.
Yeah, I just don't know. Even Rutschman, he probably has more home runs than Gary Sanchez, if I had to guess.
Orioles are killing it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely not a joke anymore. And their big prospect Gunnar Henderson
division.
He's not doing good at all.
Yeah, he's doing awful. They got some rookie reliever, I think, who had 20 straight.
Yannier Cano.
Yeah, Yannier Cano. Jorge Mateo has been killing it for them.
Dude, he's been one of the best shortstops in baseball.
I think the Orioles are a really good example of how easy or how hard it can be, to turn it around. We've looked at them the last couple of years. Obviously, they finished towards the bottom of the league, if I'm not wrong, 2 or 3 years ago, and now, they're second in a very, very arguably tough division with all teams being over 500. Even Boston, who's won over at 28-27, even though they're 10.5 back. And Tampa may be uncatchable at this point. We don't know. I think Baltimore's a really good standpoint of, for me personally, what the White Sox can do in the next couple of years if they get the right person at the helm. But the Orioles are definitely, I think, one of the better teams in the league. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them contending come playoff push time and maybe buying at the deadline.
I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be trying to fight. I think all those teams that are kind of pattering all at the 500 line, like all the AL East teams, you're going to see a bunch of the NL Central teams because they're all very close. Definitely probably some NL West because Dodgers always try and beef up. Padres try and beef up. Giants will probably try and beef up. And so probably the D-backs. They'll probably try and go for some piece if they're still keeping it rolling. And then I just I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
When is the trade deadline?
I believe sometime in August. So we're getting a little closer to it now, but we're not, super, super close to it. It's definitely something that will be necessary to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, for me, I don't really know how much the White Sox can do to get better. And I kind of, unfortunately, I did say over 90 wins, and that's
over
happened. Yeah. But we are exactly a month removed or out, 2 months out from the MLB trade deadline. It is August 1st at 6 Eastern. So it will be good to keep an eye on baseball for the next couple of weeks. We're going to touch briefly on the NHL just because I think it's worth noting. And obviously, I'm probably going to be one of the only people rambling on about this, so excuse me while I do it. But
they broke my heart.
The Stanley Cup Finals are set. Florida and Vegas, two teams who have not won a cup in franchise history. Obviously, Vegas is 3 years young. We did see 3 or 5 years, I believe, young. We did see Vegas go to the Cup final in 2018 against the Capitals when the Capitals beat them to win their first Stanley Cup. This is going to be a really good one to keep an eye on. Matthew Tkachuk is red hot for the Panthers, and so is Sergei Bobrovsky. Jack Eichel has been really good in his first playoffs. If I may, I'll open the floor. Who do you think wins the Stanley Cup and how many games?
I think Panthers do it because they have just impressed. Everyone counted them out versus Boston, and they lost the first game and then didn't lose a game after that versus them. My boy Barkov, I think he takes it home.
See, it's so crazy how it's the same exact situation, an 8 seed Florida team versus a 1 seed Western Conference team in the finals, but yeah, it's been the complete opposite. Like, the Panthers ran through every single team like the Nuggets did. And
you saw what they did to the Hurricanes?
Dude, I mean, go through the Bruins, you beat the best team of all time, record-wise, in 7 at their place. That already there, that shoots up your confidence, and you beat the Leafs in 5, and then you just sweep. Like, you just sweep the second best team as well. So you beat 3 of the top teams in that conference. I love the Knights. I think they push it really well. I've yet to see Phil Kessel on the ice, which makes me upset.
Me too. Me as well.
Get that cup winner out there. But I think I like what Preston's saying. I'm rocking with the Panthers, dude.
I think it's funny to note that Boston, the TD Garden, is the first arena to host an 8 seed beating a 2 seed in 7 games since I don't even know when, but I got that alert the other day, and I was like, that's actually kind of funny that's what they're talking about.
The TD Garden is in shambles.
Oh, Boston sports are in shambles. You kidding me? The Red Sox, garbage. The Bruins didn't do what they were supposed to. The Bruins were favored to win it all before the Cup even.
That alone ruined the.
I mean, come on.
And then the Celtics losing 7 after getting them all happy again.
You got blown out. That's the worst part about it.
Here's my thing about that, and I think that this is super obviously, like, Florida now has 2 teams and they're hoping both of them do well. I think this whole thing we talk about, obviously I'm super big on it for personal reasons, but the whole thing we talk about non-traditional markets in sports this year proves that there's no such thing as sports thrive anywhere. The NHL, I think Vegas sold out their practice today. And the Panthers are probably doing the same. The Panthers will be sold out for every game. Vegas is always sold out. So I think sports in non-traditional markets is a dead topic. I think that it's something that we're wasting time talking about, and I would be surprised if Vegas doesn't win it. Unfortunately, I hate to go against you boys, that, but I definitely think Vegas is the better team, even though they were up 3-0 on Dallas and then ended up going to 6. But I just think that Vegas is much better than Florida, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Vegas take it home in maybe 5, honestly.
They score quick, and that's what scares me about Florida, is because I've seen them score quick too, but they're usually just overly physical that they outmatch all their opponents. If they get down early, it's definitely trouble for the Panthers, but they're just going to have to keep playing the way they do. I guess don't let them score that much early. But Eichel's been an assist machine. He seems like he's finding everybody on the It's no Phil Kessel. I mean, this Vegas team, it just shows you how good they are if they're not even playing their cup winner.
I think something that's really important to keep an eye on, too, is in those 2 games where Vegas blew out Dallas, not only did they score first, they scored early. They didn't, the 2 big blowouts, they were up 2-0 before you were even halfway through the first period. And in the 2 overtime games, they didn't score early and they ended up going, the distance. But it's hard to say that I think the Panthers stand a fighting chance as much as I would love them to. I don't think they have it. I don't think this is the year for Florida to win their first one, even though Matthew Tkachuk looks like he may be the guy to do it. It's not in the cards in my eyes.
definitely the tale of two different stories. You got a team that's been really dominant all year, and then a Cinderella story. But that's why we love sports. Definitely makes it super interesting. I do think the Knights outweigh them. They are a better team, but it's going to be up to Chuck, Barkov, Bobrovsky, all of them. They're all going to have to come in and play all 7 games.
Preston, something super kind of interesting I think we should touch on is your Blues have not been what they could have been. The Jordan Binnington just kind of may have been distractions to them. Does it look like there are teams that could teach the Blues a thing or two about that? And even, are you upset to see Ryan O'Reilly got eliminated with Toronto in the second round after winning out of the first round?
Well, no, because that just means that the trade we made is good, right? If the player we just traded to a really good team gets eliminated in the second round, then I'm not that sad about it. It's kind of like when the D-backs traded Zach Greinke to the Astros and they didn't win the World Series. It's like, okay, they didn't get what they want, but we got what we wanted.
Right.
So I'm not sad about it. I love Ryan O'Reilly. I'd love to see him win, but I'm not sad about it in terms of a Blues fan. But don't ever talk shit on Jordan Binnington ever again.
Get Austin Matthews out of Toronto, man.
He's not coming to Arizona anytime soon.
Yes, he is. Come back.
No.
Let him come back.
No.
That'll build a new stadium. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah,
that'll
fill all of the 4,000 seats.
And so all of a sudden that boat.
That'll fill all the 4,000 seats.
Yeah,
Preston says as Jason's talking about a new arena. Nice. Well, I believe that is all we have time for this week on the Wildcard Podcast. Thank you so much again for listening to episode 11 on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and more. Alongside Jason Cousineau, Preston Grace, and Kurt Arnold, my name is James Mackey. We will see you / talk to you next week. Hopefully, we still have 2 finals series going on at that point. If not, we may have a really boring show.
No, definitely will.
I hope, man. I friggin' hope. Thank you so much again. We will see you in the next one.
You've been listening to the Wildcard Podcast. Download and subscribe today on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.